3 10s that we need.
Product company yourself.
Who said that? You?
Yeah.
What are the 2 types of certainty we have to establish?
Emotional and logical.
What is logical certainty?
Makes sense.
What is emotional certainty?
Gut feeling, connection.
You need 1 or 2?
Both.
You need both. It's got to make sense and feel good.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was good.
I want to tell you a story about who I call.
learners.
That was good.
I've told some of you the story before, so forgive me.
I told them to start with.
But it's a great story. There is no one method of prospecting that works very well, but they all work. The idea is to pick one and stick with it. Edward Jones insists on door knocking. That is a hell of a way to prospect. Knocking on, the police get called on them, they get bitten by dogs, they get doors slammed in their face, but you really get sticky clients out of it. So, but the ratio of success is horrible. I was in Omaha, Nebraska last summer, and I met a regional leader for Edward Jones who said, I've got a young man doing really well knocking on doors. And I said to myself, that is an oxymoron. No one does well knocking on doors. This kid's doing great, you're gonna meet him. So I met this young guy, and he fit the bill. He's a good-looking guy, well-dressed, big, great presence, likable, trustworthy kind of guy. And I said, how do you have such success knocking on doors? And you know, the great ones don't realize when they're great. It's so simple to them, but he said, I'll tell you what I do versus my friends, what they do, why my level of success is better. He said, when I knock on a door, he said, I only knock on doors in the summertime. It's too cold in the wintertime in Nebraska. So I knock on the door in the summertime. Chances are when I knock on a door in Nebraska in the summer, a woman answers the door. Chances are. And not always, but usually it's a woman, it's a traditional family, dad's at work, mom's at home with the kids, but mom's at home. And he said, I explained to her who I am, I've opened a new office, I'm out meeting people, establishing my business, I'd like to leave my business card. And as a way of pushing him away, the woman always says, what? What's the first thing a wife's gonna say?
My husband's not here.
My husband handles all the finances. So my friends say, when's your husband gonna be here? What's his name? Can I come back? When should I call him? And they leave. He says, may I tell you a quick story? Now that's like saying to a child once upon a time. It just triggers a pleasant feeling. and the implication is if he tells a story, he'll go away. So they all say, sure, tell me a quick story. And here's the story he tells, why he's having such success. He says, I didn't come here to talk to your husband, I came here to talk to you. No one says that to them, and I go, what does that mean? He said, well, look, let me say a quick story. He said, in my house, my wife does all the cooking. I am useless in the kitchen. I can't boil water. I don't even try. My wife does everything. I am so useless in the kitchen. My wife goes away occasionally. She goes away for the weekend with her girlfriends. She goes to visit her parents. When my wife goes away, she makes meals in advance. And she puts them in the refrigerator with a note attached, what to do when she's not here. Has your husband left you a note what to do when he's not going to be here? That's what I want to talk about. How emotional is that story? How good? What's the answer to the question? No. No. They never had, no. That's what I want to talk to you about. He said in one case, he didn't see the husband sitting in the living room. He said, I've written it all down because it's his voice. And he said to the wife, is he giving you that list? So that's kind of who I help people like you. I have another friend who does seminars. He raises money by doing seminars, client events for women. The title of the client event is Suddenly Single. Isn't that a great name? What's that? What? The woman is suddenly widowed, suddenly divorced, and they've got money and don't know how to handle it. They've never been taught. It wasn't their job. And he educates women, divorcees and widows, on just the ABCs of investing. So that's a who I help story. All right, the second 10. Who I am and why I'm here are big stories. The New York Times did a really interesting survey some time ago. They talked to several people, and the question was, what percentage of people in America are trustworthy? And the answer was, in their opinion, less than 30%. The second question was, okay, what percentage of your friends are trustworthy? Oh, over 70%. That is statistically possible. But what's the moral of that study, James? What's the moral of that whole thing? What are they saying, Brian?
People they know are more trustworthy.
The better I know you, the more I trust you. You're an unfinished story, unfinished book. The person, chances are, is going to. By the way, these 3 tens is a great reason to do business with your existing clients. They pass all the hurdles. It's also that's what makes referrals so good. It moves the bar from left to right, more toward the 10 side when it's a referral. Okay, where was I? What was I saying? Oh, you see, you walk in, you're an unfinished story, and people don't know you. And all they're going to know about you is what you tell them. Now, we know in advance people have certain things they're looking for in a financial advisor. Give me a word, give me an adjective. Or no, a noun. What would someone be looking for in a financial advisor? What quality? Trust. Respect. Competent. Integrity. Accessibility. Knowledge.
But intelligent.
How you gonna convey all that to somebody you just met?
Ability, connection.
How do you get that message across? What do you tell them?
You tell them how do you behave when nobody's watching you.
That's a values and action story. That's right. You got to create your who I am story. Let me tell you a bit about myself. This is not a complicated story. There's no hidden agenda here. So let me tell you, Brian, where'd you grow up? Where'd you come from? Who are you? That's basically what I want to know about. My case, I grew up in Bangor, Maine. I'm a Red Sox fan. I love sports. I'm married. I just love being outdoors. That's who I am. That tells people, and you want to weave in, if you can, one of those qualities. Trust, integrity, accessibility, whatever it is. You said honesty, I think? Trust. Respect. How do you weave that into your story? Tell me a short, quick story, John, of who you are.
In 3 minutes.
And weave in something that lets me know your a quality you want me to know. What do you think is the most important thing I should know about you? What kind of person are you? What was the one thing you'd want me to know about you?
I have been in the business for a while.
Can you want to show me you're a long-term player? Long-term veteran.
Mm-hmm.
You build a story around that. That's your story. I grew up as a kid in XYZ town. I got in this business early. I've been doing this for 30 years. I'm really dedicated. I'm a professional life insurance agent. That's me. That's all it is. That opens the door, right, Brian? Now I'm beginning to know who you are. That's why the old saying is, you never discuss sex, religion, or politics. You imagine sitting down, let me introduce myself. I'm a huge Donald Trump fan. Well, that's going to start a fist fight, right? Or I hate Donald Trump. Or I hate the Yankees. And there you go, now you're in an argument. You don't want that. So who I am, sir, is real simple. It is, this is how you got where you are today. Where'd you come from? What's your journey? What's your professional journey? We're going to know why I am later, but this is a story. What do people want to know about you? Doesn't it be an amazing story? Just a simple story, Jose. Just simple. Where'd you grow up? What kind of guy are you? What do you like? What are your interests?
Something. They need to know something.
Let me get to know you a little bit.
Yeah.
Be no different. My analogy is you're on vacation with your spouse or your mate. You're in a swimming pool and meet another couple.
Same thing.
I start up a conversation with a stranger. What are you going to ask them? Where do you live? What do you do?
Yep.
You have kids? That's all. Just getting to know each other.
Yeah.
Because too many people walk in and launch right into the product. The great ones form this emotional connection.
You're out.
Right.
Yeah, by sharing stories to tell people who you are, you're putting in the line and showcasing your authenticity and your spirit. That's all. That's all this is. Be the type of person that has the qualities people see. Before people trust you, they're going to get to know you. So who I am story has to be personal. You've got a great, great story. As unfortunate as that accident was, it is a great story. And that would interest people. Playing volleyball professionally would interest people. Putnam had a wholesaler. When I was training, he was brand new. I was on appointments with him all day. We literally go to 3 or 4 appointments. Big, tall, strong guy. We sit down for a drink after the day. He tells me he played professional hockey for the Bruins in freaking Boston. I said, how can you not mention that to somebody? Oh, you think that might pop out of your mouth once in a while that you played for the Bruins? Never mentioned it. Hockey players are dumb. The point of your story is this is your story. You're the main character. This is about Eduardo, just about you. How do you as a person end up right here doing what you're doing? What brought you from a little boy to here? Now, when you build it, here's the first thing you do. We're not going to do this for the sake of time. We're not going to build it. I'm going to turn this back to Ron before 12. But think of a time, a place, or an event that provides evidence you got one of these qualities. And talk about yourself, Jose, in those terms. I pride myself on my integrity. Now, maybe a lie, maybe he has to decide for himself, or she does. But I pride myself on my responsibility, on my passion, on my creativity, on my whatever it is. But you gotta have evidence here. Let me give you an example. Get personal. Trust is a personal decision. Remember now, I've given you this before, and pardon me for beating this point home, but a young mother walking down the street holding a baby, she has to tie her shoe. Is she gonna hand that baby to a stranger? No. Would she hand the baby to a fireman? Yes. Why would she hand it to a fireman?
Trust.
Why would we trust firemen?
Yeah.
Why do we trust firemen?
Because that's what they do, they save lives.
They save life.
Well, how do you know that?
Well, that's their job description.
It's what we read about them. Here.
Perception, that's a perception.
Every story we've ever read about the fireman is a good story. He's a hero or she. They run to a danger. They help kids with special needs. They step up at Christmas time with orphans and kids with no dads. They just really are heroes.
They take cats off the tree.
They take cats off the tree. That's what we read about. What kind of stories do people read about insurance agents? You hear about insurance agents? Oh, they want to make a sale. They don't have passion. They don't care. That's the bias you've got to break down. That prejudice, you've got to break that down a little bit. And all I know about you, John, is what you tell me. I'm not a mind reader. You have to tell me what you think I should know about you. So it's simple, but you gotta stay on script.
You know, it's funny you said salesman, and that is kind of like a stigma. So when people say, "Oh, you're a car salesman," and then they come, I usually tell them, actually, car salesman is the best salesman. That kind of like changed their mind. It's like, oh, really? Yeah, but I'm still there to sell them, of course.
Why don't people trust car salesmen? Interesting question.
Because a salesman, a car salesman can sell a lemon. That's why they're the greatest.
There's also something more to that.
They're aggressive.
It's the turnover rate in the business.
That's true.
You buy a car, you go back, you never see the guy again.
Great point.
He's gone.
Great
So
point.
therefore, you'll do anything you can to make a sale, because you're not gonna be here, you're struggling. Yes, sir.
Let me tell you a story.
Please do. I'm all ears, because I'm an honest, compassionate, warm, loving, sincere, civil guy.
Before I was in the insurance business, I used to be a manager for Gordon's Jewelers, which they had their home office here in Houston, Fanning at Walker. Anyway, when I used to work there, I thought I was the greatest salesman ever, because, you know, to sell something that a person really doesn't need, like a diamond, a jewelry, you know. Well, I said, you know, that's a salesman. We had Sears right next door, and I used to talk to the guys there. I said, well, you know, you got it made because somebody walks in and needs the refrigerator, you know, needs the stove or whatever. You guys aren't salesmen. You know? You're order takers, you're waiters, you know? And that's the conversation we would have. But then, when I come into the insurance businesses, man, I wasn't a salesman.
Well, you know what the
Now
difference
I'm a
is?
salesman.
There's a sales you initiate, and there's a sale a customer initiates. Somebody walks in the jewelry store, what are they after? So you're not gonna say, what do you think? Guys can tell you, say, I said exactly what he wants. I went boom, 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 boom. Give him exactly what he wants. You're not gonna say, well, what do you think? Because he initiated the sale. What do we say? Oh, what do you think? Because we initiated the sale. It's a big difference, you're right.
No,
It's a different kind of selling.
Jose, Lynn says she needed every one of those diamonds.
By the way, I have a friend who's been selling Toyotas for
You know,
25
people
years.
who walk in and say, I'm
He
looking
sold
for a
5
watch.
cars
I
to
said,
people.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because they trust him.
$1,000, why the hell? No, that's too much.
All right, so
Okay.
all we're gonna do is get personal. You're gonna break down bias. I don't want you to think I'm just an insurance salesman here to sell you something. I don't care which way I want the commission. I'm here for the commission. So I'm gonna let you know a little bit about myself. And the things that are wonderful things. I was an Eagle Scout. I lived with my mom when I grew up. Those kind of things are very passionate to people. In your case, your story is recovering from traumatic brain injury. It's an incredible story. People don't know that about you. So that's the first thing. After you list the qualities, I'm not going to do this, I'm just going to show you, because you've got to have a script, Edgardo. You've got to have a script. You cannot wing this stuff for the first time in front of somebody. Look for stories that demonstrate those qualities, give people samples of your qualities, let them decide for themselves. Don't try to convince me with the story. Just tell me the story. Let me decide. I'm not trying to sell me on James Young. You tell me about yourself. Stories don't have to be long. You pick one of your thoughts, you write it down, you write down as much as you can remember. You pick a time in your life, Roberto, when you were painfully, or as Eduardo said, you did something when nobody was looking. Did the right thing. You then get a low risk listener. Your husband, your wife, child, whatever. Someone that's not going to give you a hard time. Someone you trust not to bust your chops. And tell them your story and say, what do you think? How does it sound to you? A low risk listener is really good. Don't look at your notes, just say it off the top of your head. Ralph and I went through this on the phone several times. Write down your listeners' takeaways. What did the person say about you, about the story? I didn't like it, it was too long, didn't tell me enough, whatever it is. And then you decide what you're going to keep, what you're going to throw away. That's how you create a script, a story. You need one for who I am. Simple story. Where'd you grow up? Where do you go to church? Are you married? Do you have kids? Tell me about yourself. The next story is, why are you here? Are you here to sell me something? Are you here? That's why I said earlier today, you enter the prospects world. You don't bring him into your world. Right here to sell me something, here to help me. I got to make that decision. When all the time you're talking, I'm looking at you and listening to you, and I'm filtering information. I need evidence, Jose, that you're not a user. No one likes to be used. It's the end of the month. If I make one mistake, I can go to Hawaii with my wife. That's not a good thing. People won't listen until they know you're there for the right reasons. You can't help somebody till they believe you can help them. So when I sit down with you in a sale route for the first time, I want to know who you are and why you're there. That's the way we approach anybody for anything. It's just human nature. Just human nature. We need a why. So you need a who I am, why I'm here. Let me go through the same thing. Think about the last time a client said thank you for a job well done. That's why you're there.
Yeah.
That check you delivered, whatever it may be, that's why you're in the business. Decide in your own mind why you're trying to trade people and list those reasons. And then we go through the other steps. Look for someone that demonstrates what you're seeking, let people decide, they want to know you're not just for the money, that kind of thing. That's a why I'm here story. And here's the third step. So we got the product now, we got you. Now they got to believe what? The company that stands behind the product. You need the American National story. It's a story of the journey of American National. It is not a timeline. Yes, American National was founded in 1905, Don. Yes, that's true. But we're not going to go chronologically. It's part of the stories. But it's the why of what American National does. Why is American National in business? Does anybody know why this company started? Anybody remember why?
Yes.
You have to know the story. You must know the story.
Hurricane.
Galveston disaster.
But he was mad. He was in New York and he was mad, and then he became and founded a company in Texas. He got mad
He said the people up north weren't treating his
Yeah.
customers well.
Yeah, they were.
He weren't treating people in Texas well because they were just Southerners. They're far away. So the Yankee, he didn't like that Yankee mentality.
And the only form of communication, there was no text or emails. Like, I will send you a letter. Hopefully, it'll get there next month. Maybe. 1904.
So the Galveston flood triggered Mr. Moody to say that we're not being treated well by other state companies. I want a Texas company to treat our people, folks. Right. That's the story. That's the why of what American National does. Consumers crave an authentic experience. Isn't it an authentic story? 12,000 people died. If I were in Puerto Rico, I'd equate it to Maria and Irma and every bad storm you ever had. It's just, that's authentic. They will understand why this is what a hurricane is. They crave that. And when people listen to you, some guy says, why did you choose American National? Let me tell you, you know what we went through with Maria? Was it Maria was the bad one?
Okay.
Let me explain why American National exists. That is such an emotional tie-in. Everyone in Puerto Rico is going to go, bingo. Why wouldn't you choose American National? There's no choice for someone living in Florida. Or in Houston after Irma, after Katrina. Harvey, after Harvey. There's no one after Harvey. So when you're talking about the company, they're gonna focus on three things. We said this morning about Dion's agency. The heritage, the sincerity, the commitment to quality. Yes, sir.
American National was one of the first and few companies that allowed the clients not to pay their premiums and keep the policies in force while the hurricane was there.
Oh, yes.
90 days after the event, still, in some cases up to January.
Is this Harvey we're talking about?
No, Maria.
Maria?
Eduardo,
Oh, Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico.
Eduardo has a powerful story. I don't know if we can say it later on a client that had a situation like that. So that's a story that we have used
It is a great story.
with the people.
Do you tell that to
Because
your prospects?
in reality, it happened. He had a case of an individual who had a policy for many years, and with the storm, we were going to cancel it, and the company automatically reinstated the policy for the client.
That's similar to your story.
Well, no, the guy actually he died, and the policy was lapsed for 2 years, and the company because that I tell this to some clients, I say, well, it's a small company, right? It's not a huge company, but this happened. The company did everything legal correctly. Everything happened correctly. They sent letters. The policy lapsed. What happened was the person got Alzheimer's. He was divorced. He got sent into a home. He paid the premium, direct bill, for 25 years straight. He never failed. But then he got cancer. He got Alzheimer's, and the doctor could notify the American National that this actually happened in this timeline. And American National went ahead and paid the death benefit 2 years after the policy lapsed to the beneficiaries, and deducted the premiums that were supposed to be paid. In a policy that we took almost 3 months, and they did not have to pay. American National did not have to pay the premium, and the clients knew that because they did it. I mean, the client didn't pay, so they paid the death benefit, and the clients were crying in my office. They wanted to give me part of the death benefit, and I said, "Oh, obviously, I cannot do
I
that."
was able to take it.
Yeah.
Only made a party.
But it was a humble mother and a daughter that needed the money.
How good is that story?
That's powerful.
How could you not pick American National?
They did that.
Whenever I meet an agent who sells for a particular company, I ask him why. I always get a story, not like that, but I get a story. Why are you selling Ohio? I asked the guy, why are you selling Ohio National? He gave me a story, an emotional story. This is why I sell Ohio National. This is why I do it. It's always nothing to do with the products, it's about the company itself. You need that story. I know you love the product, I know you and I get, let me tell you why I'm picking American National. You need all 3 10s. You cannot assume 2 out of 3 doesn't work. So you tell that story over and over and over again. You gotta know the American National story. You have to know it. You need 2 stories. Your own story, your dad's story, and American National story.
There is another piece that American National has about being one of in insurance, the top trustworthy companies in America. It's a 1-page, and it's available.
We have it.
What's that great award that like Cadillac always wins it? What's that?
Forbes.
What?
Forbes. Well, that's where our.
No, the other
J.D. Power.
J.D. Power. Yeah, you get that kind of designation.
That's high.
In fact, was it Ohio National? Who got downgraded a while ago? Was that Ohio
Yes.
National? You mentioned that to me, yeah.
Yeah.
That's tough to fight. That's tough to fight. You know, in the old days when I was an advisor, in the beginning, there'd be sales contests. They'd say a trip to Hawaii if you hit a certain level. But imagine the first case when they're in court when somebody lost money and the lawyer says, "Oh, so you could have sold my client anything. You sold a miss because you got to go to Hawaii with your wife." That is not a good conversation. That's not, you gotta level that playing field. So know this story cold. Talk to Dawn about it, talk to Amy, talk to Ron. Just get that story down. Let me tell you about myself, who I am. Let me tell you why I'm here. Let me tell you about this particular product. Let me tell you about American National. And then you said it's right. Both types of uncertainty, logical and emotional. Voila, there you go. All right, the first meeting. I think the first meeting should be about establishing trust. It's a job interview. You're there for a job interview. People always ask me, especially today with the way things are, how should I dress? Well, I think you dress the way your clients expect you to dress. Imagine hiring a plumber, the guy comes to the house, he's wearing a suit. This doesn't look right, this isn't right. So how do you show up for a job interview? That's how you show up on an appointment. The purpose is to establish trust. People are gonna buy your integrity, that's what we're gonna focus on. Are you here to sell me something or you're a good guy? Always gonna come up. Drunk intellectual arrogance. Yes, we know a lot. We don't have to prove it, we don't have to show off. You listen to the person, I say, to me, a first meeting is this, I think. John, you and Paulette tell me your story, why you're here, and I'll tell you why I'm here. And then let's decide if we should go forward.
That's perfect.
After knowing each other's story.
Perfect.
I'll tell you something, a funny story. I got a buddy of mine's a real estate broker. So he had this couple he couldn't satisfy. They literally like spent 3 or 4 weekends looking at houses. Literally, he couldn't find anything they liked. So on like the 4th Saturday, he's just talking to me, he says, by the way, you folks have a hobby. What do you do for, I said, yeah, what is it? Looking at houses. True story.
No way.
True story. We love to look at houses. It was like, get out of my car. Focus on your client's stories. Here are some powerful, Scotty Brennan, $1 million round table, top of the table.
Yeah, he's been the president.
Yeah. Scotty says, you do what I tell you. Mike, I will guarantee you, and my company will guarantee you, that your widow will dress like a wife. Not like a widow. It's a very powerful image. All we do is creating word pictures, right? This is my buddy. This guy's a great, he spoke 3 times at MDRT. He sells life insurance. He has leukemia. What do you think his level of concern, when he talks, do you think he's kidding around? This guy played basketball in Australia, he's a young guy with leukemia. When he sells insurance, he sells it with a passion. But these are some of his presentations. And again, a lot of you have heard this, so forgive me, but for those that haven't, they're very important. When the question comes up, I don't know how much life insurance I need. He says, I'll tell you how much insurance you need. Chances are you're gonna predecease your wife. If something happens to you and you die before your wife dies, I want to deliver your wife 3 checks. Do you remember the checks, Omar? What's the first one? Anybody remember?
Your send-off.
Your send-off,
a great party.
We're gonna have a great party to send you off. You lived a great life. Ron, you got a ton of friends. You just had a wonderful life. We're gonna give you the best send-off imaginable. We're gonna have top shelf booze. We're gonna have great food. We're gonna have a party. A funeral today and a party like that probably costs $25,000 right now. So at least the first check, I want to be at least $25,000. Now I want to give your wife a second check. Who remembers what that is?
Say goodbye to the
College?
banker.
I want your wife to walk in and say goodbye to the
The
bank.
bank.
Anything you have financed, home, car, boat, anything. Because nothing drags a family down like debt. So we're gonna pay off all your debt. So how much debt do you have? That's the second check that's the second amount of insurance we're gonna buy. And by the way, Ross gets people calling and saying, I gotta increase the second check, I just bought a boat, whatever. The third check is your legacy check, Skeeter. How do you want your wife to live? You tell me the lifestyle she should have, the money she should get every year, I'll do the math. I'll re-engineer the math. I'll tell you exactly how much insurance you need. Those are the 3 checks you need. So let's add up the cost of your send-off, the amount of debt that you have, and enough money to give your wife the life she deserves. Now I said, if you don't take my advice, not that it's gonna happen, but imagine your wife, there's a good chance you won't be able to live in this house. There's a good chance your kids won't go to college, certainly the college of their choice. It's not gonna be easy. You take my advice, your wife can stay in this house, your kids will go to school of their choice and have a great life. Pretty simple. So I want to go to 3 checks. I don't live in the product space. Ross came to this country from Australia on a boys' getaway. Like 8 guys a few years ago. They played Augusta. They went to Yankee Stadium, went to the NCAA basketball game.
Wow.
They had a ball. They did all guy stuff. Boston to California. So one night we were in a sports bar watching something, and an ad came on. Fidelity has commission-free ETFs. Ross is a financial advisor in addition to being a life insurance guy. So one of the guys said to Ross, how can you make a living with people that give it away your products? And he said, I don't live in the product space. I live in the wisdom space. Isn't that a great line?
Mhm.
90, you can do everything in life. You can do everything in life by yourself, 90% of the way. You don't need a personal trainer to tell you to get in shape. You don't need a financial advisor to tell you to save for retirement. It's the last 10%, how you do it. So I'm not out there selling products, I'm telling you how to do things. It's a great line. You folks don't sell insurance, you don't sell product, you don't live in the product space, you live in the wisdom space. Especially a guy like Jim Ince, who's dealing with those sophisticated doctors issues. If not me, then who? It was not Ross. If not me, then who? Was another guy that spoke at MDRT, Ross told me about. This guy that spoke had grown up with 3 guys. There were the 4 amigos. All 3 of his friends were dead through accident and illness at a young age. He said to the audience he had never talked to any one of their wives about life insurance. Talked to them about life insurance before they died. And none of their wives were well off, because he never talked to them. And he feels terrible about that. He should have sold them life insurance. So what he says now to his friends, people he knows socially, he said, I want to tell you a story. He tells them that story, and he said, look, I'm not trying to encroach on our friendship, but you've got to hear the life insurance story. You have to hear it. And if you're not going to hear it from me, then who? Because chances are I'll ever tell you that story. I didn't tell my best friends. You've got to hear it. It's a great presentation. And the last one, he calls insurance Plan B. That's what we were talking about earlier, Ryan. You got it. Here's your financial plan. You're going to be 65, you're a retired, wealthy guy. But in case you don't, we have life insurance. That's Plan B. So when people call to cancel the policy or they're starting to let it lapse, he will call them and say, you realize you just canceled Plan B, right? Right. What's your new Plan B? There never is one. So great, simple, short stories. Let me tell you why, what my friend of mine said. Let me tell you why you need a financial advisor. Or you say whatever you want, an insurance agent. God hands everyone a jigsaw puzzle. Some people need help putting it together. And that's why I'm here to help you guys like you put your jigsaw puzzle together. Simple, clean. Life's like a jigsaw puzzle. Metaphor. Life's like a jigsaw puzzle. This is a friend of mine in Sacramento, California. Now remember, we're objective thinkers. Our language is numbers. Your business is all about facts, figures, stats, and numbers. So your language is numbers. Decisions are emotional. It's subjective. The language of subjective thinking is not numbers, it's storytelling. Every decision the client makes is emotional. Should I do this? Can I afford it? Should I wait till we get back from Europe? All those things. So my buddy again tells this story. He's an LPL guy, actually. He said, let me tell you why you're going to buy life insurance before you do anything else. He said, when I grew up in Flint, Michigan, my father worked at the General Motors plant there. My father had an accident and died as a result of his accident and didn't buy life insurance. That's such a common story. All he had was a $5,000 policy GM gives to every employee. So my mother, raising young kids, all she got was $5,000. She was forced to remarry, and she remarried in haste. She married an abusive guy. So from the day my father died, or the day my mother died, my mother had never had one happy day on earth, because he didn't buy life insurance. And I'm not going to do business with someone who would do that to their family. So you buy life insurance, or I'm out of here. Isn't that a great story? You have to do it. It's non-negotiable with me. I can't do a financial plan and not put life insurance on the top. Charlie Parks, who's not here, has a great analogy Charlie uses. Can you imagine those champagne glasses stacked up with 6 and 4, then 2, then 1 on top? What happens when you pour the liquid into the first one? That's life insurance. Everything else bubbles down from that. That's his analogy. Simple, easy to understand. We want to think it over. This is Jim McKenzie.
We want to think it over.
How many times you heard that? Jim McKenzie gave me his presentation. This guy was Edward Jones's. He's retired. Edward Jones's #1 guy for years. That's out of thousands of people. He's in a town called Kearney, Nebraska. And he was #1 at Putnam, and I was head of sales, and he was also in American Funds, Capital Research. And this guy was like a huge advisor in Kearney, Nebraska. So I had to meet him. So I flew to Omaha, rented a car, and drove to this little town of Kearney. Interestingly, a little footnote to the story, when I got him on the phone and said, can I come see you? He said, absolutely, come see me. So we said, are you free on such a day? And he said, yeah. I said, yeah. He said, yeah, that's the day. He said, well, I have 2 appointments in the morning. Let's meet after my appointments. I said, great, what time? He said, 7 a.m. After his 2 appointments. I'm thinking, then I thought about it, who's he dealing with in Nebraska?
Farmers?
Farmers. What time are they up and at?
Huh?
4 o'clock.
Yeah. So I meet in this diner, and we talk to Jim. I'm talking to Jim, and he's just as humble, and he's just a wonderful guy. And he said, I said, Jim, you're posting major league numbers. I mean, this is like huge numbers, scary huge. And he said, well, I said, how do you do that? He said, I figured out one thing as a young guy that allowed me to do this production. So I'm not paid on how much I know. I'm paid on how well I communicate what I do know. He said, my clients are farmers. Farmers are very smart. They have PhDs in chemistry, they have advanced degrees in soil and agronomy. They don't know the first thing about investing. So the size of my paycheck is not based on how much I know, it's how well I communicate with farmers. I gotta make them understand. So he said, I'll give you my presentation as if you were a farmer prospect of mine. I'll use an analogy with an analogous situation. So he said to me, is that your rental car out there? Of course it was, the only car from the rest, everything else a truck. I said, yes. And he said, well, when we leave this booth, we're sitting in a restaurant, you gotta get to your car. Take my advice, walk to your car. It's 50 feet from here. Walk, makes sense. So if you want, I'll go back to the office and get my truck and give you a ride. Which would be, we have a small airport in Kearney, or in a helicopter, I'll fly you to your car. Walk, it's right there. But when you leave Kearney, you've gotta go back to Boston. I was living in Boston at the time. He said, now you can walk to Boston if you want. I'm sure someone's done that before. You can drive, that takes 5 or 6 days, or you can fly. My best and final advice, walk to your car and fly to Boston. He said, the point is this, I live here. You tell me how far you're going, I'll tell you the best way to get there. Isn't that a great presentation? He said, that's how I talk to farmers. He said, on my desk, I keep a kernel of corn in a plastic vial, because they're corn farmers. It's their product. He said, when someone says to me, I want to think it over, I know it's a smokescreen. I know they're not comfortable. So he says, Mr. Farmer, let me tell you something. You don't believe me, do you? He said, you don't believe me, you don't trust me, something's going on. And of course, they get embarrassed. Oh, no, we always think about things. He said, look, stop. I gotta tell you something, Mr. Farmer. And Jim picks up his kernel of corn with his vial. He said, if I came to your farm this morning, instead of you coming to my office, and you sat me down, you and your wife, and said, Jim, you gave me a presentation, you said, Jim, from this one kernel of corn, we can grow row upon row, upon acre of corn, 6 feet high, mile after mile after mile. I wouldn't believe you either. But you can do it, can't you, Mr. Farmer? What does the farmer say? So I don't understand how you do it. I just gotta believe you can do it. Is that what you're telling me? Yeah. You don't have to understand how American National does it. You just gotta believe they can do it. I want you to take a hard look at me, Jim says. Your decisions today is what you think of me, not American National. You're never going to Galveston to meet Mr. Posey, and he's never coming here to meet you. So let's stop deciding about American National. Let's decide about me. I'm gonna leave the room. I'm gonna check my messages and get a cup of coffee. You sit here with your husband, the 2 of you, and you answer the important questions. Have that conversation. The most important question in financial planning is, do you like me? If you don't, big boy, I can take a no, fine. Then no one likes me. You gotta decide that. Secondly, do you trust me? And thirdly, is what I'm recommending right for you and your family. If I get a green light, let's go. But please don't tell me you want to think over retiring. I don't buy that. Isn't that strong? So that's the end of I want to think it over. You like me, trust me, think I'm smart, Jose? Let's do it. Again, everything you've got in life, you got by asking. And Jim just asks for the order. This is the love letters with Blake Weber that we talked about. I would say to a client, bring all your financial papers out here. Bring everything out. Your Merrill Lynch certificate, your mortgage, your every bill, everything you got. Bring it and put it all, mess it up on the table, put it in something like that and say, that's before you, that's right now. Here's what your finances look like after you hire me. We'll put everything in one pile. Really strong. Simple, Vivek Philpay. Google this kid. This kid's been at Merrill Lynch for like 7 years, does about $10 million a year in fees. As a young kid, he is astounding. He was an engineer at Google, he's smart as a whip. But to solve his whole presentation He had hired a professional company to clean his garage. That's his garage before they got there, that's his garage when they left. That's exactly those are actual photographs of Vivek Thope's garage. When people want to talk about fees and commissions and other things, he holds up those two photographs and says, this is what I do with your finances for a fee. Are you interested in that? What's the answer, of course?
Yes.
Yeah. For a reasonable fee, I'd like that. Well, you, Brian. That's what I do for you, financially.
Hey, Don, I'm sorry, I just wanted to add that I think that you're right, because some people wanna make you believe, some clients wanna make you believe, no, I'm the numbers guy. You know, I like your stories, but tell me the numbers. But at the same time, once they know that you know what you're doing, they go back and they fall and they say, don't give me the numbers, just give me.
We'll do the numbers first, Eduardo.
I have an engineer now that tells me, I don't want to know how you do it.
Yeah.
All I know is I trust you. He told me that.
Yeah, you know what? He had a BS detector go off. Everyone's got a BS detector. So you do the numbers first to satisfy the BS detector, then go into the emotion. It's not enough. Once you present the facts and figures, you're only halfway home. You make a logical argument, the rest is emotions and feelings. It's not how they think, it's how they feel. But you gotta get past this BS detector. And logical argument, let me give you the logical side of this thing. Now we'll get emotional. So yeah, you're right, you're absolutely right. My buddy that sells deferred annuities, but I do it fairly well. That's actually, he has that in his office, that statue of Donald Trump. He has every president, back to Jerry Ford, he has tons of presidents in his office. When he sells an annuity, he brings that into the conference room with people. He sits here, they sit here, he sits over here, Donald Trump's behind him. And they say, what is Donald Trump doing here? And he says, well, I'm gonna talk about deferred annuities and saving money in taxes. When I get done, you can write one of us a check. So, I got the Donald in case it's him. Jim Hitch would love that. Jim Hitch should get one of those, actually. I talked to a young man who is an advisor in Wilmington, Delaware. He played football at a Division III school called Williams College, great school. And he's a big guy, football player. And he says to people, as you can tell by looking at me, I wear custom-made clothes. I don't have a lot of money, so I have a thin wardrobe, but I do wear custom-made clothes. Because for me, they fit better, they last longer, they look better. They're really important to have. What I'm gonna do for you folks is build a custom-made portfolio. And today in the first meeting, I'm simply gonna take your measurements. Now everyone knows what that means, right? Jim, we said before, you should have one of these with your meetings with doctors. Buy this and bring it in the meeting with you. Say, when I get done talking, you're gonna write one of us a check. Hear him. I wanna think it over,
I wanna think it over.
especially with investing.
That's original.
I wanna think it over.
The most classic.
Eduardo, let me ask you a question. Let's say you want to get to a town 60 miles away, and you have to be there in an hour. How fast do you have to drive?
A little faster than 60 miles an hour.
That's dangerous. It's doable, but it's dangerous, right? If you delay your departure time by 20 minutes, now how fast do you have to drive? No one ever knows the answer. The answer is you got to drive 90 miles an hour to get there on time, and that's suicidal. The longer you wait, the more expensive it becomes, the more risk. Someone told me a story recently of a guy that said, I'll think about this when I get back from vacation, died on vacation. Who's telling me that story? I thought that was in Puerto Rico, maybe somewhere else. The prospect, I'll do this when I get back. Well, died. It's dangerous to wait. It's dangerous. Time to act when you have the money. So, when you make people feel smart, they like you. When do you want me to end? How much time do you want?
Hour ago.
What time? 11:30, okay. When you make people feel smart, they like you. Let me tell you some stories. This is a good story. Actually, Ron, you like this story. This is the story of Chris Shea. Chris Shea has a series of cards called Life Size, SIGHS, Life Size greeting cards. She tells the story of herself. She always wanted to own her own business. She kept finding reasons not to. One day, she had one child left at home. She was sitting with her friend. Her friend said, Chris, you've got to start your business. You've been talking about it for years. She said, yeah, but Johnny's at home. He's only 12 years old. Her friend said, what's your excuse going to be when he's 18 or 19? Then what's your excuse going to be? Isn't that a great story? And she started this company, Life Size. So here are some of the stories we should know real quickly. A teaching story. This is for concepts that are difficult to understand. Clients, to understand certain things in your repertoire, you have to have the experience. But clients don't have that experience, so you gotta teach them. And it's not enough to explain logically how inert gas works. The physics of rocket propulsion. You can't explain that. So you need stories to explain what's difficult to understand. So it's about changing a person's behavior. New behavior leads to new results. So certain lessons are best learned from experience, but people don't have that experience. So, and I'm going to do this quickly. How do you build a story? What skills do you want your clients to have? How about stick-to-itiveness? How about perseverance? How about agreeable? All those things. Figure out what you want your clients to have. What are your top 5 pet peeves? Jose, what's a pet peeve of yours with clients?
Something that annoys you.
No, what's your pet peeve about your clients right now in the business you're in?
I think indecision.
Indecision. You need a story about indecision.
Yeah,
You can't explain it. You need a story to explain it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. So we create stories to dispel annoyances. Look for stories that demonstrate in a visceral way the important lessons your clients need to know. And maybe your clients will copy actions of other successful clients. What did you tell me it was with indecision?
Indecision.
You need an indecision story. That's the Jim McKenzie story.
I have one of those.
Right, that's the story I just told.
Okay.
Don't tell me you're going to rethink retirement.
Yeah.
A vision story is you got to build it with. If I go out and buy a $50,000 car, I'm not taking the salesman to lunch. I get the car. If the car gets damaged, I don't go back to the salesman. I go to the body shop. I never see the salesman again. If I buy a $10,000 watch, I'm not going to thank the guy. I get the watch. When I do business with you, I have nothing. I have nothing. I don't walk out with a watch. I don't have a car. I have nothing. You've got to build a vision that takes all those future mountains and turns them into molehills. I can't afford my premium. I got married and divorced. Whatever it is that comes up in the life of a client, you've got to build a vision that keeps him or her involved for 30, 40 years. Remember Ronald Reagan called America a shining city on a hill? That's a vision. You've got to build a vision for people so they know to stick with you. So, this guy, I told you before, go to YouTube and look this guy up. This guy's name is Randy Carver. C-A-R-V-E-R. Anybody look him up? What'd you find out?
Actually, motivator.
This guy is Raymond James Financial Services. Randy manages $2 billion in AUM. Randy Carver, this is going to kill you. When Randy was a kid, he was diagnosed with lymphoma. So he had the surgery, they removed, I don't know how many organs. I mean, this massive major surgery. They said, you know what? That was a misdiagnosis. He didn't have it, he misdiagnosed. You got something else. They did another surgery, damage his throat, his vocal cords. So Randy Carver now can only whisper. He can't talk as a result of the surgery. If you go to YouTube, you saw him, you know how he whispers? He just whispers, he talks like this. And he says to people, I can't talk, all I can do is listen. He said he does a thing on YouTube about vision selling. Most advisors talk about the products, the journey, the results, the numbers. He said, I talk about hopes and visions and dreams. See, clients don't care, this is his quote, clients don't care about investments, they only care about the experience. Do you agree with that? 100%. So he says, he said, somebody who's thirsty, they don't care if you give them a Pepsi or a Coke. They're not going to say, I want to have a Pepsi. They want something to drink. So when someone retired, he just wants to retire. They don't care who or how. So Randy, because he can't talk, says in this whisper, I want you to tell me your vision. Create your vision for me. Why are you here? And they always say the same thing. He's in Cleveland. They want a home in Ohio fully paid for. They want a condominium in Florida fully paid for. They want their kids educated and gone money in the bank. And Brian simply says, I can make your vision come true, Brian. Can we do business? He said, my clients don't know if they own Putnam or American funds or whole life insurance. They don't know. All they want to do is retire. I don't talk about what I care about, I talk about what they care about. It's a great vision story.
Don, one thing I have done for many years is maybe relates to the vision. Once I have that vision, I paint a mental image. If you really would like to be a Formula One driver, and that's what you're telling me, and then I start in my mind putting in a scenario in which you're seeing yourself with X kind of car, going at 300 miles per hour.
That's what it is.
And enjoying every minute of it. But it's after he tells me what is his hot bottom, what he likes to do.
Hot
So,
bottom.
so that's the vision in
That's a vision story. I would say to my clients, Luis, obviously I can't guarantee a daughter's gonna get into Harvard, but if she gets it, I'll make sure you got the money to pay for it.
No idea.
That's all I cared about. So I'm gonna speed this up, because no one's gonna give me that look. You've heard so many of these, I'm just gonna, let me go through this real quickly, because I wanna show you, I'm gonna close with a vision story. That's what's so good, this is the best part, Joe. No, I'm kidding.
Gee, you'd think they would've given this to them.
This is my vision story. People would be, I wanna think it over, or I'm insecure. This is a vision story. I'd say, Mr. and Mrs. Client, I don't tell this to everybody. I have a crystal ball. And I keep it in my bedroom closet. And today, before you got here, last night, when I got up this morning before you got here, I took a look at my crystal ball. I know exactly what's gonna happen in the next 10 years. So I'm gonna tell you what's gonna happen. And when I'm done, you tell me if you wanna invest or not. Fair enough? And what are they gonna say? This is a stock market story, it's not a life insurance story, but we can create similar stories for life insurance. Say, okay, you give me your hard-earned money. Here's what I see in my crystal ball. In the first 3 months, you're gonna lose 27% of your money. Gone, adios, sayonara, see you later. Right off the top of the bat. And it's gonna be a huge bear market. How do you feel about that? That's the first year. Now, I will also tell you, unemployment in America is gonna hit 10%. You're gonna be in a bear market, you're gonna lose 1/3 of your money in 3 months, and unemployment's gonna hit 10% in this country and devastate America economically. It's gonna be horrible. How do you feel? What's the answer to that question, of course? That was good. Let me tell you about the second year. America's gonna pass the most expensive piece of legislation ever passed. The pressure on our debt market is gonna be unsustainable. It's gonna be a massive bone of contention, most hotly debated issue ever in this country. That's the second year. Then there's gonna be an oil spill. It's gonna cost $60 billion to clean up in the Gulf of Mexico. Just a huge blow to our economy. Now, the third year, America's gonna get downgraded by the credit services. America's the only economic superpower in the world. We're AAA, Standard & Poor. They're gonna downgrade us one notch below. Why? They're gonna call it political brinkmanship. They say, what's going to remember drive us over the cliff, the fiscal cliff. It's gonna be terrible. The fourth year, we're gonna have a storm, the likes of which you've never seen. It's gonna rip up 800 billions of dollars on the East Coast. It's gonna devastate New York City. It's gonna devastate it financially. The fifth year, America's most widely attended sporting event. 500,000 spectators in attendance. Someone's gonna set off 2 bombs and wound and kill. Kill 3 people, wound hundreds and hundreds of people. I see that in my crystal ball at one of our most cherished sporting events. What used to be America's largest city is gonna go bankrupt. It's now the 9th largest city in America. It's gonna go bankrupt, cannot pay the cops, the firemen, nothing. It's a wake-up call to every city in America. America's on the verge of bankruptcy. How do you feel now about investing your money? Because that's what's coming. Many of you give me 10 cents. America's gonna shut down. We can't afford it. We gotta have more money. America's out of money, we're just gonna shut the government down. Closed. Thank you for stopping by. Gone. Now in the 6th year, Russia's gonna invade Europe. So the country trying to align with Europe, Russia's gonna go in and annex it. Imagine what that's gonna do to our economy and what to the world. A caliphate's gonna be formed, killing tens of thousands of people in 20 countries. By thousands of terrorists trying to regenerate the caliphate. It's going to cause 65 million migrants to stream across Europe. 65 million migrants streaming across Europe. The 7th year, the price of oil is going to go through the roof. It's going to collapse the future market. This is all your money at risk, by the way, James, as we're talking about here. Market's going to crash. One day it's going to be down 1,000 points in one day. One day, it'll be a supply crash. Then the 8th year, a bunch of European nations are going to get together and form this alliance to make business easier. It's gonna fall apart. Whole European Union's gonna fall apart, see what we created. And we're gonna have Russian hacking and interference in our elections. The Russians are gonna try to influence an American election. Imagine what that'll do with the markets. We're gonna have someone try to threaten to throw nuclear bombs at us from North Korea. We're gonna see the rise of China. Democrats are gonna take over the House in the midterm elections that year. You're gonna lose the House, and Republicans are gonna lose the House. We're gonna have millions of people massing on our borders, trying to get in this country, breaking the borders down. And 5 of the worst days in stock market history are gonna happen in the same year. Most of them in December of that year. Now how do you feel? One of the days that date on my crystal ball was 2009. Everything I told you just happened. And the Dow went from 9,000 to now 26,000. Everything I told you happened. If you'd known one thing, if you thought about it, you wouldn't have done it at all. And that's, you would have missed the biggest bull market in history. That's what thinking it over does for you. You miss an opportunity. You can do a similar thing for life insurance, build the same kind of argument. So I'm gonna stop right there and turn this back to, because once everyone's gone. Turn it back to Dawn.
John can do it, yeah.
It's at 11:30, it's 11:30. So I'm done.